And we're live. Hello and welcome to the Peter Repeater podcast. This is your host, Peter, and I will be repeating other stuff than my name. I'll be repeating the news, I'll be repeating my thoughts, and I will keep you informed best I can as the world news progresses and how the situation unfolds. And hopefully I can get onto my own thoughts about stuff, and we'll see how long I can talk for, because I don't always talk for such a long time. Sometimes 20 minutes. I've done an hour and a half before, I don't know how, but we'll see. So we'll just go on to the news here, and just to let you know that the Prime Minister had a meeting today called the Cobra meeting, which is a behind the scenes meeting with important people. I don't really know much about it, you see, but it's behind the scenes meeting, and he is having a broadcast like me but with more important stuff to say at 8:30 in UK time. So he might say something new and there might be a lockdown. We don't know. So I'm going to do a little live stream now to keep you updated, and we'll see what the coronavirus news has in store for us, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So just a little update. Today I have been to get some medicine, and I was in a queue, but we're all 2 meters apart, so not right next to each other. So people are social distancing themselves, and I've also seen some reports of people not being able to follow the rules, or choosing not to follow the rules, and carry on partying and going into public spaces just as normal. So not everyone is following the rules. An interesting thing that I saw today is that if you infect 2.5 people every 5 days, then after 30 days, that one person being infected will infect 406 people. And if you infect half that through social distancing and infect 1.25 people, then just by halving the amount you infect, after 30 days, instead of infecting 406 people, you infect much less, 15 people. So this social distancing can literally save lives. And we've seen in other countries the extremes of how the disease can get out of control if you don't put the guidelines in place and you don't take drastic measures. So my hope is that the government makes some drastic measures and is able to put a dampen on the situation. So I hope that there is a lockdown, although it wouldn't be the best situation because you wouldn't be able to go outside. But I think the idea of having lockdown and people's food, groceries and resources be delivered to them, and just have the key workers keep on coming. And if we had a lockdown now, that would be earlier during the growth of the disease than Italy, and we would hopefully save more lives. And the people in Italy are just saying to the world, take better, more drastic measures earlier than we did, because in places at the epicenter of the disease, such as Lombardy, there is real problems with hospital capacity and people with the disease, and it's not a good thing. So in preparation, before you go ahead and watch BBC News, I'll just go through a few personal impact that this disease has had on me. I think the whole idea that society, as it happens, people can get comfortable and just go, and they're like sleepwalking through life, and they're not quite in the moment. And I think a disaster like this and a crisis like this makes you be thankful for your daily awareness, your consciousness, and just be thankful that you can live in the moment. And I hope that society has a recalibration and we aren't just stuck doing office jobs, you know, and not really focusing on the core essence of what it means to be human. And hopefully, because I was thinking, hopefully we can change things. And I was thinking that all the children that are going to school and aren't able to stay at home because their parents are key workers, all those children, their parents, surely that's all society needs to function, is the key workers, and the other workers aren't quite key. Because when you think about it, you can be stuck in a job that is hello, I have got someone saying hello. This is just my little update on the coronavirus news, because there is nothing else to talk about. And after this, I'm gonna watch BBC News, and I'm gonna watch Boris Johnson talk. Yeah. For the moment. Yeah. So I did do a bit of gaming on this channel, and I decided to talk instead. I guess I try out different things with the gaming. I just sort of ran out of time, and I just feel like that I quite fancy talking. Anyway, I hope that you can find your gaming needs. I just thought it'd be quite fun to have a little bit of a podcast, because I like talking. But there's nothing to stop me from gaming in the future. But anyway, let's talk about the coronavirus. Yeah, because anyway, forget about the coronavirus. What I was doing, I used to do gaming, Rocket League, and unless you're really into Rocket League, it can be quite. It's not very the most interesting to watch. But I did have a stage where I was playing Rocket League and playing with other people, and that was really quite fun. But at one stage, I was trying to do Rocket League and answer philosophical questions at the same time, and it just all got a little bit much. I couldn't focus on the Rocket League, and I couldn't focus on what was saying. So, I suppose any attempt to making videos is better than no attempt. But I quite like listening to podcasts. And my dream is to set up a podcast where I can get some guests on and have conversations, because I'm not much of a gamer. I was just doing that because it was easy, and live streaming games is quite an easy thing to do. But podcast, I think, is something I like to do. But for the moment, it's just me looking at the coronavirus. Let's see if we can get an interesting news article that we can look at, and I can keep you informed with the greatest and latest coronavirus update, which is all the rage right now. So this article that I'm looking down at my tablet. It says coronavirus: how to help kids cope with life without school. it's an interesting one because work and school you think is a waste of time, or you think is hard, and you wish you didn't have to do it, and you wish you could have all your spare time. But from personal experience, oh, very nice. I'm in SBC RP on Minecraft. Cool. SBCRC RP. Very nice. So Minecraft is a game I never played it, but I have watched other people play it, which is a bit ridiculous. So why aren't I playing it myself? But I've watched PewDiePie play Minecraft. But there you go. I've watched PewDiePie play whole games, like 10 hours, and I don't play the game myself. I don't understand it. So yeah, as I was saying, schools and work, you think the waste of time is hard work. You wish you didn't have to do it. In actual reality, you kind of need something to do every day. And from a person who's been to school, been to work, and been without something to do, unemployed, I value the aspects of school and work because you get just something interesting to do with your life. And even though it's not the most amazing thing to do in the moment, just having something to do is quite valuable. So recently, what I did, I'll get back to the news article. Recently, what I did was I tried to learn programming because my college course starting in September is about programming, like coding, and then I also tried writing a book, and that book is on the Kindle store with if you type my name in, it's on the Kindle store on Amazon. And I wrote a book, but it's got loads of spelling mistakes, and it's a really short book. It's only 29,000 words long, 62 pages, so you couldn't print it out, but it's a Kindle book. So I spent the last month doing that, and now my idea is to be a podcaster or something like that. I don't know, but I struggle sometimes because I often run out of things to say. But anyway, let's get to this news article, and we will finish up, and I'll watch Boris Johnson at 8:30. So this says no school for the foreseeable future. There's no exams. So things that are important to maintain: consistent routine. So it might be a good idea to wake up and go to sleep at similar times to normal, so you get that routine. Get out if you can. So it would be good to go to the park and maintain social distancing, and try your best to get out and get fresh air. This is ideas from BBC. Limit the doom and gloom. So that's the idea that you shouldn't be watching the news all the time. I'll drink my cup of tea in between me talking, but yeah, you shouldn't watch the news all the time because it can be a bit mentally draining, and it can make you anxious. And hearing this person died in Spain, this person died and they were 25 with no underlying health conditions, and all this bad news and panic is not necessarily good for your peace of mind and your well-being. So I did way too much news with all this coronavirus, so I limit myself. I only watch it every now and then, but before I spent the whole morning just watching BBC News all the time, and it just got a bit much. So limit the doom and gloom. Exam fears. Let's see what this says. Students who were due to take their GCSEs and A-levels and other exams have had to be cancelled. They don't know when or if they will go ahead at a future date. So the exams are up in the air, and teenagers are worrying about how they can get their qualifications. So I suppose it's all good timing, really, because I've done my teenage exams and I'm gonna do a course at college, and I've fit the coronavirus in between, so I haven't wasted every aspect of life, really. So just basic impacts on human life, we haven't really seen it, because it's strange to think what happens when everyone stays inside. Does society slowly and surely fall apart? Like, are the farmers still going to make the food for the next year's harvest? Is that still going to happen? Or are we still going to get educated? Or are we still going to... Because we can already see immediate impacts. Like, you can't buy anything from Amazon, and you struggle to get food in the supermarkets and stuff like that. And it's just things might get out of hand. Like, there might be more crime, people will get ill and get into health problems and won't be able to get the support they need, and all these things will fall apart in a way when people are stuck in their houses, and the internet might turn down, the electricity might go, the water might go. Not saying that these will happen, but when things break, who's going to come and fix it? And all of these comfortable things that we have used to have comfortable lives, and things we take for granted, like even on a smaller scale, in my own personal life, my mum had an injury, so I wasn't able to cook. So I did all the cooking and all the washing and all the cleaning. Well, I did the bare minimum, but and I found that a bit much. And you don't realise how good you have it until something goes wrong. So in the same way that I find it difficult to do all the cooking and cleaning and washing, society finds it difficult when there aren't always stock on the shelves in the supermarkets, when there isn't always the internet and stuff like that, because things may impact our society, and might have long lasting damage from having to stay indoors for long periods of time, maybe a year or something. So, or all this might just blow over. But I think if we have a lockdown, I think it will last a long time, because you're not going to want to start up again until the amount of people that die significantly reduces. And an interesting thing that I learned about is about the Spanish flu in 1918 that killed about 30 million people. That there was a first wave of illnesses, and then the summer came, and the transmission rate is not as bad in the summer. The disease doesn't spread as much, so it died down in the summer. And then there was a second wave of Spanish flu, and it was way worse than the first wave, and more people died in the second wave. So we might be able to combat this virus and make sure that make sure the deaths go down and people stop dying in the first wave. But it might have a second wave in the winter, when things are truly vulnerable, where the most people die. So the worst is yet to come, I would say. And I hope that our close and loved ones stay well. But of course, as Boris Johnson said, you should expect to lose some of your loved ones, which is really quite a predicament to be in. So I just think this is going to be a long-lasting situation with the coronavirus. And at 8:30, we'll switch from my podcast. We will go on to BBC News and we'll watch Boris Johnson, and then we'll go to bed in time for school tomorrow. No, no, we won't. We'll just stay up playing Minecraft and everything. So, something interesting. I'll go through a news article. Coronavirus: how to protect your mental health. So limit the news and be careful what you read. So what I was saying earlier about not spending all your time on the doom and gloom, and making sure you don't fill your mind with bad news all the time, and you don't let the anxiety get to you and stuff like that. So I think just bear in mind that you can only cope with so much, really. So maybe have one time a day where you let yourself to catch up on the news. So maybe when there's the evening broadcast by Boris Johnson, if you just watch that one time, and then you don't need to think about it the rest of the day. So limit the news. That's to do with your mental health. Another thing is have breaks from social media. So don't spend all your spare time on Twitter and Instagram and scrolling and swiping and double tapping. I think those means of entertainment are only really designed to be in and around the daily hustle and bustle of life. I don't know if that's a word, but yeah, so social media isn't designed to be an all-day activity. So limit your social media. I would turn your phone on silent. Just make sure that you're not distracted all the time. And my personal opinion is to do activities that require focus and are beneficial to you. So like reading a book, I think that's a great idea. A book that you're interested in, because there's so many different books. Just read a book that you're interested in. As I said earlier, I wrote a short book on the Kindle. If you just type in my name, not that you will, but I've got to plug that in on someone's podcast, and I haven't got a call from Joe Rogan anytime soon. So put your phone on silent and focus on things which are worthwhile, like reading. And my personal favorite is listening to podcasts. So you're doing a good job now. Thank you. Just listen to podcasts and like Joe Rogan. They're my favorite thing to do. So wash your hands, but not excessively. So I would just wash your hands every time your hands are dirty, and don't worry about the coronavirus, because in your house and you're just living inside, you don't have to worry about washing your hands. Maybe if you go out somewhere to the shops or something, wash your hands afterwards before touching your face and everything. Stay connected with people. So any family members or friends that you might see on a more usual basis, you might want to WhatsApp call them, like video chat, and just keep up the social contact you have with people. And it's also interesting to get a little bit of localized news, where it's more than just reading the news. You can find out what somebody else is up to, and all the preparing they're doing, and did you get the latest and the latest vegetables, and are you growing your own food, and how are you collecting the rainwater, and when do you plan to live in the forest permanently? Just sensible steps that you can take. Stay connected with people so you can talk to people about such random stuff. Avoid burnout. So don't get anxiety and stuff. Don't let it bother you, and make sure you can just keep on doing things you like. And yeah, so that comes back to the thing, I'm not watching the news all the time. Yeah, and that's the BBC article for you about protecting your mental health. Any questions or comments you want to make, I have the live chat. Somebody mentioned, have you changed from gaming to this? And I hadn't really thought about that because I haven't done gaming in so long. And basically, yes, I think, because I like talking and I want to have guests on my podcast. I think to start off with, I'll go to college and I'll try and get a friend that I haven't met yet on this podcast and we talk about stuff, because I think that's quite an ideal thing to have people talking on the podcast. And then eventually I get some more notable people on the podcast, like say somebody who's a comedian or something. I don't know, this is just me dreaming. And then eventually I get into the intellectual dark web with Sam Harris, David Rubin, Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, all these people. And this is the stuff I think about when I've got one person watching and I want to keep on making videos. But yeah, just for the time being, I'll just talk on here when I can. I don't know if I can keep it up, to be honest. Sometimes I try something and then I just forget about it and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll slowly but surely in the next few moments I will leave you to watch the BBC News, getting prepared for Boris Johnson, because I'll be watching him at 8:30. So let's not talk about the coronavirus. Let's have some nice things to think about. I say you should limit the amount of coronavirus that you let your mind into, but when really I watch prep videos about people who are prepared for like apocalyptic events and they're like loving it right now. And I watched Russell Brand talk about keep maintaining your mental health and how this is different for society, and how all these concepts that we get comfortable and familiar with just sort of fall away and we're just left with our basic needs and stuff. Interestingly, what Russell Brand said is our government guideline says avoid all unnecessary social contact, which is a bit silly because Russell Brand says, well, isn't all social contact necessary for our well-being to be fully human and everything? So it's interesting. Yeah, so that's what Russell Brand says. Oh dear. So I quite like this this format of me talking to a camera and stuff. I don't know how people create content enough to grow an audience, because that seems pretty hard and stuff. And I probably need to try and talk about other stuff more than just the coronavirus, because something that I said the other day is just, this news is really interesting. Like all of a sudden, like everything seems to matter, like, and the news matters and it's all very meaningful and is interesting, because most of the time the news that you watch like isn't interesting. Like, yeah, it's sometimes like significant news, but it doesn't affect you on a daily basis. So all the news, like the potential lockdown that Boris Johnson might speak of, might be pertinent to our daily lives. So everything matters. So that's a good thing. and yeah, so I try not to it is very interesting, and I do like to talk about it, and I think it's helpful for people to see other people's points of views and consider what it's like to for other people to go through the same as what you're going through, and see into someone else's life and what they're going through around the same situation, and then you can think about what you're going through and feel connected. So what I'm going through, just staying at home. I'm not self-isolating, but I also don't have a job or a occupation at the moment. I'm starting a college course in September, so hopefully things can stop happening by then. Yeah, I think so. I've done a little bit of preparing. Just got a few supplies. Don't have loads of resources, but just get a few essentials that hopefully keep me going throughout, like food and stuff, basic needs. And something, I'll say this again, I said it before, and anyway, I've got seeds, so we can plant seeds and grow food, which is potentially not the most important part of modern life, growing your own food. But I just thought, well, if there's no food in the supermarket, take things into my own hands and grow the food myself. So I've got a good lot of seeds, lots of different varieties of vegetables, and it's funny because things like that, there's been panic buying. Well, I don't like the word panic buying, but just like preparing yourself, proactive buying for things you might need. Like the Seeds website has had such high demand, they've had to stop selling for a while just to catch up with all the orders. So I got in there before they stopped selling them. So I've got seeds now, so there you go. Okay, I appreciate you guys watching, and thank you for bearing with. The Boris Johnson is talking at 8:30, and I'll be listening to him. I can't be like BBC News and cut to him speaking. I'm going to have to actually stop and watch him, and I don't think it's fair to for me to just sit here with my headphones on and watch the news, because that isn't interesting enough. I think I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching, which you have. I'll be on here tomorrow in the day sometime. I can't give a particular time because I don't know when I'll be able to, but just watch out for new Peter Repeaters, and hopefully you can get some valuable information about the coronavirus, and also maybe when the coronavirus becomes less important, I'll talk about philosophy and just interesting things to talk about, and then eventually I'll get guests on my show and we will talk to the guests, but that's like months ahead. But till then, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Bye for now.